Hello and welcome to the Benchmark Suite webinar. Today we will run through the Benchmark Suite online application, go through the download area to view the different reports that you can access as part of your subscription, create a client record and import some data, and then we will run through and generate a report. So to get things going, I'm just on our home page at the moment and we will go and log into the application. So I'm just clicking on this login button at the top right of the screen. Now I'll just log into the application. You will have your own login details that will be unique to your firm, and when you log in you will arrive at the dashboard. So the dashboard just holds all the different records that you've created for clients of your firm, and when you run through the process of clicking the benchmark a new business button and create a record for your client, they will appear on the dashboard here, and then you can actually just click any of these records to view the different financial years that you've created, and you can also go through and add a financial year from this window as well. So we'll close this down now and we'll go through and have a look at the download area, and then we'll come back and benchmark a new business. Once you click on the download button, it will open up the download area. You'll notice that the download area contains a big long list of all the different benchmark industries. And up the top we have a keyword search bar where we can just enter in an industry name and filter down this list. So once we filter the list down and we find the industry that we're looking for, we have a number of different options here. And the first is the benchmark tables. These show just the different benchmark breakdowns for the industry in question. And then we have the industry report, which you can download either as a PDF document or a Word document. And then we have the branded industry report, again as a PDF or Word doc. So the difference between the industry report and the branded industry report is that our application supports the upload of your company's logo and also branding color. So with the industry report, it'll just download with our standard Benchmarking.com.au branding. But with the branded industry report, if your logo and branding color has been uploaded to the application, the branded report will produce with your company's logo and branding color. Alright, so we'll click through to the benchmark table first, and then we'll double back and have a look at the industry report. So once I click on that PDF link, it will just download the benchmark tables, which appear in the bottom left corner here, and just click to open that up, and it will open as a separate tab. So the benchmark tables are broken down into three key areas, which are by turnover, net profit per owner, and also location. The first breakdown here is by turnover. As you can see here, I'll just zoom in on this a little bit, and then down the left hand side of the screen we have all the different key performance indicators. So up first we have expenses as a percentage of total income, and then we have some profit key performance indicators as well as some productivity, personnel numbers, and also some financial ratios at the bottom as well. So as I continue on to the next page, you'll see some different breakdowns. This time we're looking at net profit per owner, and continuing further on we have some breakdowns by location, and also an other breakdown here which is just looking at the substantial use of subcontractors. And then finally on the last page we're looking at some breakdowns by state, and just looking at the average of all the businesses for the particular state within our sample. So that rounds out the benchmark tables. We'll exit out of this document now and return to the download area. We will now download the PDF version of the industry report. Click the hyperlink and the file will come down to your browser. Once you've opened it up, you'll be able to save it down to your computer or print off a copy. The industry report opens up with the title page, and then we have the table of contents, and the first section we look at is the industry statistics. So the industry statistics reviews some Australian Bureau of Statistics data and looks at the size of the sector and also the industry. And as we continue on, we have some information around the employment data The next section is the benchmark comparison. So you'll notice in this page, in the first column here, we have a number of cells saying awaiting your data. So we've tried to make this industry report a bit more of a teaser document. So if you're taking it to, say, a client meeting, you'll be able to hand this out to the client and they will quickly gain an understanding that the results can actually appear within this report and they can have a much more customized version of this report, which is your opportunity to generate fees. The next page looks at the industry trends. So this is a specific section that we covered off for the architects industry. We conduct a number of projects throughout the year for various industries, and any data that we actually generate from these projects, we actually publish back as part of our industry reports so that our benchmark suite users can have access to it. The next section is the KPI feedback. So this section is just an image that fades out, and so the real feedback section will have quite a number of different feedback comments and also traffic light indicators. Here we just have an image that fades out, again as a bit of a teaser so your clients can gain an understanding that their results can actually flow through here and they can receive some custom feedback, and we actually direct them back to discuss with their accountants about getting custom feedback. So next we have the ATO benchmarks, and we were able to marry up 70 of our Benchmarking.com.au industries with the ATO's benchmarks, and where possible we created this additional page and we slotted in the ATO's results and also the benchmark ranges. So within the main area of the application, if you go through the process of entering client data in, what will happen is the results will actually be placed against the ATO's benchmarks and they will receive a quick too high or too low in the table here. And continuing on, we have the action list, which just looks at a number of different strategies a business owner can apply in order to improve. Now at this stage I'll point out that the action list, the benchmarks, the feedback section and even the questionnaire are all industry specific, so they will change based on the industry that you're looking at. So next up we have the ratio definitions, and these are just explaining what's going on behind the different formulas that we're looking at. So obviously quite handy if you're giving the report to the client so they can have a look at what's going on behind the different ratios there. And then to round out this document, as an appendix, we have the same benchmark tables that we looked at just a moment ago. And we attach them into this industry report so that you don't have to double back and create your own documents and merge the files together. So it just makes it nice and easy to access this content. So we'll close down the industry report now and return to the download area, and we'll actually navigate back to the dashboard to benchmark a new business. We will now run through the process of benchmarking a new business. To start the process, click the Benchmark a New Business button and a series of pop-up windows will open on your computer. The first is the industry selector, and here you can see we have a number of different headline items that we can click to expand and view the different industries that we have available. We're going to work through a building contractor sample today, so I'll select the building contractor industry. The next pop-up window that opens just asks if this is an exact match to your client's industry. So if, say for example, your client, you were trying to find a like match because you couldn't find an exact match within our benchmarks, you might just want to pop in a text reference to explain the industry that your client is involved in, and that'll actually help us to expand our benchmarks in the future. So we'll click next on that and type in a business name. Once we've typed in our name, click next, select the financial year that you would like to enter benchmark data for, whether or not it's budget data, and your contact information can flow through from the system. Press continue and your file will be created. So you can see we've now created the record Builder Webinar Test for the financial year 2014, and we've opened up into the main data entry section of the application. So the data entry page is broken down into three sections. We have the business details, which looks at location, personnel, and also some other information. Then we have the profit and loss, and finally the balance sheet. So you might have noticed as I was scrolling down the page, we have a number of buttons appearing stating import profit and loss and also import balance sheet. So these buttons actually allow you to run through the import process. So we will now import some data from Excel. Click the import profit and loss button to start the process. An overwrite warning may appear if you have already entered data into the profit and loss section. To continue, click the continue button. You will then be asked to select your import method. On the right hand side, we have the Connect to Xero feature, which allows you to log into Xero and authorize the client you would like to bring data in for. Once you complete the import, you will arrive at step 4 in the mapping process. On the left, we have the ability to copy from Excel/CSV. We will run through this process now. So I'll click the copy from Excel/CSV button, and this will open up the paste area. So let's go and grab some data from a profit and loss report. And you can see I've just brought this up on my screen, and we have the label columns and the data columns here. So what I need to do is make sure that I'm grabbing these two columns. You can grab them from anywhere on the Excel file, it doesn't matter, and you just need to scroll down the page and highlight the data that you would like to bring in. So I'll hit copy on this, and then I'll paste it into the application. Now I just need to nominate which column relates to the labels and which relates to the data, and click next. If you have already completed a map, it will skip over step 4 and start to load step 5. And you can see here, this system has already started mapping my data automatically. So if you've created a map for a client in the past, the system will remember what to do and start assigning that data automatically, as it has done here. And so I can click on each of these cells to view what I've placed into each of these profit and loss categories here, and understand where this data is coming from. If I've made a mistake and I would like to change any of these items, all you need to do is click on the cross cell on the right to remove that item, and then you can go and reassign to another cell. And this will then update your map for any future imports. So you can see I've only updated or imported a little bit of data here, and I'll just drag and drop some additional items across into the questionnaire here. So this is just an example I'm working on. I'm not getting all this data into the correct cells. But you get the idea, and I'll hit submit, and this will bring this data back into my questionnaire. So as we scroll down the page, you can see our results are flowing through here. And if we continue back up to the top, we can now click through to the benchmark page and start to see some results flowing through. So we'll return back to the dashboard now, and I'll show you how to import data for an additional financial year. So let's open up the existing record that we created, Builder Webinar Test. And you can see we have the financial year that we created for 2014. And what we'll do now is go through and add an additional financial year. So click the Add Year button, and the first question that pops up is whether or not you'd like to copy from an existing financial year. So to create a budget, it's very quick and easy. You can just copy the data from the existing questionnaire here, click Next, and then run through and select the budget field and change the financial year. And this will actually go through and create the questionnaire with all of the data you've entered previously, and it just allows you to run through and edit to adjust for your budget items. If you would like to just run through and add some historical data, which we'll do now, we can just select a blank questionnaire and click Next. And we'll just go through and move the financial year back in time, and I'll take it off the budget and hit Continue. So this will create the record, for financial year 2013. And so what we'll do now is import some data. So I'll click the import button once again, and we will import data from Excel. So I'll click the copy from Excel button, bring up my Excel file, and this time what I'll do with this Excel record is I'll change some results here. So you can see we've got some different financial information for this client as if it were a different financial year. And so now what happens when I copy the label and the data and paste it into the application, select my labels and my data, and then click next. You'll see as soon as we get through into step 5, the system will automatically start placing the data into the questionnaire once again. And you'll notice that it even does this with the new data that's been entered for the client. So it's quite seamless once you set up that map. You just need that initial investment of your time to get the map right for the client, and then you can really start to import some historical data, or also when you return in future years to complete the benchmarking exercise, it becomes very quick. For any items that remain unassigned, so if for example you added a new expense item to the client's records, it will just remain on the right here to be assigned. As you can see, I just assigned a couple of additional items there, and once you hit submit, it will update the map, and this will store for all future imports. So I've hit submit on that now, and it'll just load back to the questionnaire. As you can see, all our data is coming through, and if we scroll back up the top and click through to the benchmark page, I'll start to show you how we can analyze some results for the client over time. So you can see we've got the 2013 result loaded up here now, and if we click on the benchmarks, we have our typical results by turnover, net profit per owner and location, but now right down the bottom we've got a new result, Your Business 2014. So this is how we can actually line the client's results up side by side and see how they're performing over time. And so you can mix and match. If you'd like to have the 2014 financial year at the front, you just need to make sure that you're opening up that particular record. So I'll show you how to do that very quickly. We just open up our Builder webinar test and click the financial year 2014, and that will now make the financial year 2014 the main subject. As you can see here, it's in the first column, and we can select to compare against financial year 2013. And you can go and slot in some additional benchmarks here as well. That's not a problem. From this page you can actually print out to Excel, which is obviously quite handy if you want to go and create your own graphs. Otherwise you can just print out the standard PDF or Word reports. And so when you're dropping these benchmarks in, they will just flow through all the way down the page. So we'll exit out of this record now and go back to the dashboard, and we'll load up a sample file that I've got which has a more complete data set entered in. So we'll open up the sample file, JD Building and financial year 2012. So we'll load it up into the data entry page once again, and as you can see here we've got some data entered in. And if we click through to the benchmark page, this data is flowing through, and I've also selected some benchmarks to compare against, including a 2013 budget and also a turnover benchmark $1 to $2 million. And we'll continue on to the feedback page. So within the feedback page, this is the full version. So we touched on the image that faded out within the industry reports, but this is what will appear if you go through the process of entering your client's data. So you can see here for each of the key performance indicators we're looking at, we've got some custom text feedback and also a traffic light indicator as well. And so if we scroll down the page, you can see we've got quite a number of different financial ratios that we're looking at there and key performance indicators. Now, one of the handy things about the feedback section is that you can produce the report to Word. So if you want to go through and add in your own feedback comments, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, if you prefer your client to just focus in on a couple of these comments, you can actually delete the different rows from the feedback comments and really tailor it to your liking. So that's the feedback section. We'll click through to the graphs page now. And within the graphs, once this page loads up, you'll see that each of the graphs contain 4 columns. So these columns just marry up with the selections made within the benchmark page. And so you'll see in the first column we've got your business 2012, in the second the 2013 budget, and then the turnover benchmark selected as well. So if you only select, say, 2 benchmarks, our graphs will compress and resize to only display the selections made. And one other thing I will point out, if we've uploaded your company logo to the application, it will appear up in the top left corner here, and the branding color will also be updated from this blue to marry up with your logo all the way through to the graphs as well. And the graphs themselves, we create 8 graphs, and they're based loosely off the feedback items. So there's 8 items that are usually chosen that actually lie within that feedback page. So the next 3 tabs, the action list, the statistics, and also the ratio definitions, these are just a mirror image of what we saw within the industry report. So the action list just contains the strategies that a business owner can apply in order to improve. And I will just point out that these strategies do not change based on your client's results. They are static. Whereas the feedback section provides that really customized feedback commentary. So the action list comments do not change based on your client's results. However, they are still industry specific, and they will change based on the industry that you're looking at. So the next tab we have is the statistics. So this is the page that just looked at the Australian Bureau of Statistics data within the industry report, and some of that employment data as well. And then finally we have the ratio definitions tab, which just looks at what's going on behind each of the calculations. So let's go and review the 2 tabs that we skipped over, the valuation questionnaire and the biz value page now. The valuation section of the application allows you to complete a quick desktop valuation for your client. Within the valuation questionnaire, we have a number of different questions across 3 financial years. This data entry section is completely separate to the first data entry tab. And the reason why we had to separate these 2 questionnaires is that we were asking for different profit adjustments which weren't included in that first data entry page, and we're also requiring information across 3 financial years to get some historical data in. So as we scroll down this page, you can see we're just asking for total sales, net profit before tax, and then the various profit adjustments, and you can just hover over any of these question marks on the page to understand what you need to be entering into the various cells. And as we get towards the bottom of the page, we have a select weighting function. So if we hover over this question mark here, it actually explains that the default setting is 3, 2, 1, and you'll just need to make these selections in order for the valuation to calculate and appear on the next page. So make sure you're clicking these drop downs and selecting a weighting. The final 2 questions just relate to the balance sheet. I'm just asking for WIP and also debtors, and if we click next, all this will flow through to the biz value page, where we just have some final business parameters which we determine to be the parameters that you most likely will need to tweak, and so we've kept them on the valuation page here so that you can just easily adjust the payback period or perhaps the cost of funds. And then all this will flow through to provide you with a business value. Now we're using the third method here, the capitalization of profits, to calculate this business valuation, and it's not actually using a benchmark cap rate that we have for the particular industry. It's just purely working off the items that you've entered into the valuation questionnaire and also the business valuation page to produce this result. If you want a more extensive valuation report, you can actually click into our resources section if you are a Benchmark Suite subscriber, and within the resources download area, we have a valuation template, which is actually a Word document that you can just download to your computer very easily. And once you open that up, it winds up being around a 11-page valuation document, which just allows you to be able to enter in all the different parts as you would to a template. And I'll just bring this across so you can have a quick look here. You can just run through and enter all that information in, but it covers off all your disclosures, and it actually covers off the valuation methodology and expands what's going on behind the calculations as well. So it can be quite handy for your own reference there to understand our valuation methodology. So we'll close down that tab and return to the application now, and we'll run through the process of how to print off the report. To print off a copy of the report, simply click the print button at the top of the screen. This will open up the print dialog where you can select the format that you would like to print to, whether it's PDF, Word, OpenOffice or Excel. So we'll print this off to Word to have a look at the report, and then you can actually select the sections that you would like to appear in the report that you're generating. So for example, you can kick out the questionnaires to shorten the report. So let's do that and click submit. This will start to generate the report in the background, and once it's ready it will just pop up for either opening or saving down to your computer. So I'll click away from this pop-up window whilst we wait, and there's also the option up the top here to print a copy of the questionnaire, and that will generate a PDF copy of the questionnaire. And you can also click on the data review as well. So we offer a free data review service where once you click that button, you can submit the request to the analyst, and an analyst will log into your file, review all the data you've entered, and come back with any data entry queries to try and get the best data into the system there and get the best result for your client. So this report has popped up in the bottom left corner now, and I'll just open up a copy of that. It's opened on my other screen here. Let's just bring this across, and away we go. So here's the report. It's downloaded to my computer, and you can see we've got the title page here, table of contents. So this is a fully functional Word document. I can actually update these fields and it will just update this table of contents nice and easy, and we've even gone to great lengths to keep all the different formats available up the top here as well. So if you want to go through and edit this document, it really does make it quite easy. So again, we open up with the industry statistics, just looking at that Australian Bureau of Statistics data, and this report will just be a mirror image of what we saw within the industry report. However, now we have the client's data flowing through into this report. So you can see in the first column here we've got the result for 2012 and also the 2013 budget. And as we continue on, we've got the feedback section. So just looking at all the different feedback items there. And again, if you want to make changes to the feedback comments, because we're within Word, we can just add in comments. Or if you wanted to go and delete an item, you could also do that as well, just depending on what you want to do. So then we have the graphs, and the graph section, these are just images as per the graphs tab within the application. If you want to go through and add in your own from Excel, you can just delete these out and pop in your own graphs. It's all but too easy once you're in Word. So then we've got the action list with the different strategies. And once again, if your client's doing well and say they're debtors and they don't need to worry about it, you might want to just delete that item and get them to focus in on some other items here, just depending on what they need. And as we continue down, we've got the business valuation section. So again, just looking at that business val, and then we have the ratio definitions. So just containing all the different formulas there behind the key performance indicators. And again, if you want to edit any of this document, remove sections, you can just do it with a click of a mouse. And so as we get to the bottom of the document here, we've just got the benchmark tables attached as an appendix once again, containing all of the benchmarks for that particular industry. So that rounds out the industry report. I'll close that down now and return back to the application, and we'll go back to square one, back to the dashboard to look at some final items. So we'll now run through some items that relate to maintenance of client records and also the ATO section. So I'll open up this pharmacy file that I have on my dashboard here, and so you can see we've got quite a number of financial years. If I've made a mistake and would like to perhaps delete a financial year, I can just click the delete button and that will remove the record for that particular year. If I would like to change the name of the client, I can just go through and edit the business, and that will allow me to change the name. So as you can see, once we exit back out of this and just reload the file, you can see I've now got the company name Pharmacy Demo. So from here, there are a couple of other options. We can set up a client access, which can be very handy if you'd like the client to enter some data into the system. So we can go through and nominate a username and also a password for the client, and then just copy and paste this information into an email or any template that you're going to give to the client. And once the client receives that information, they can click the link, enter the username and password, and they'll be able to log into the system. Now the handy thing about this client access is you can actually lock down different sections of the application. So if you'd like the client to be able to see all the different tabs that we just ran through in the application, you click the top option. If you'd prefer to just lock it down to the data entry page, then you click the bottom option here, which will allow them to only see the data entry page. So once you enable that, it will have the client's record here, and we can go through and open up the record. And so what the client experience will be is when they log into the application, they'll arrive at the data entry page, and just depending on whether or not you've allowed them to see the additional modules, they'll either be locked down to just the data entry tab, or they'll be able to see all these different tabs here. The main restriction with the client access is that they won't be able to navigate back to your dashboard to view any of your other client records. And they will have something familiar when they log in. If your branding has been uploaded, they will still see all your branding, logo, and also color. So the final item that we'll touch on today is the ATO tab. So where available, as I mentioned earlier within the industry reports, we provide this ATO benchmark tab. And as I scroll down, because I've entered data in for this particular client, you can see it's actually placing the result into the relevant ATO benchmark column, and also providing them with a quick too high, pass, or too low result against the ATO's benchmarks. So a very handy early warning system there. So that covers off everything that I wanted to touch on in today's webinar. In terms of data within our application, the benchmarks themselves are all from our own data collection. So every time a client of ours goes through the process of benchmarking their business and creating a record for a client, it will actually create a record on our system that we can then use at a later date to update our benchmarks. The benchmarks aren't real time, so if you enter a number in, it will not automatically update the benchmarks. And this is because we have to go through a strict review process on the back end. So we actually pull the records down, review them against our existing database, look for outliers, and kill off questionnaires that have any outliers or fishy data, and then we go through the process of updating our benchmarks and conduct further reviews prior to publishing all this content online. So at the moment, our update cycle is every year, and we'll actually be increasing the frequency of this update cycle to every 6 months in the near future. So in terms of the application, the only other item that we'll quickly touch on that clients frequently ask is the ability to print a questionnaire to Word. So if we click on this build a webinar test that we have here, and I'll open up the 2014 result again. So if you want to just print a copy of the questionnaire, you can click the print Q button, which will generate a PDF copy. But if you want to print a Word version of the questionnaire, all you need to do is select the Word document from the format there and just remove all the other sections until you're limited down to the data entry, and you can even include the valuation questionnaire if you want. That's up to you, and once you hit submit on that, it will generate the questionnaire as a Word document. So that covers off all the content that we had to cover in today's webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us on 029262 5564 or inquiries at benchmarking.com.au. Otherwise, you can actually just click the live chat button from within the application to launch a messenger service and write us a quick note. Thank you for attending today's webinar, and if you have any other questions, as I mentioned, just shoot them through to us. We'd be more than happy to answer. All the best. Bye for now.